Good evening, guys. It's Rusty here, and welcome back to Gear Night for the third time in a row. Tonight, we've got a very special guest, but our other very special guest is sitting right over there. Andy Little, how are you, mate?
I'm good, thanks, Rusty. How are you?
Good, thanks for being here and pressing buttons and doing all these things. Yeah, and probably throwing things, or we'll see what the night has in store for us. All sorts of stuff. Guys, if you are watching, it'd be awesome if you can share this out or comment on it, or let us know what you are up to, how your week's been, all that sort of stuff would be great. Good day to Anthony, Ben, to Scotty, to Paul, and to Philip. There's a bunch of guys and scroll down a little bit there, Andy, and we'll see the next one. There's a bunch of crew in there chatting away. Ryan's there, Steve's there. It's all happening. Speaking of Steve, different Steve, but different. Speaking of Steve, our guest tonight is Steve Blacker. You may see him around on the various social medias under Practical Rifle Solutions. But I believe, Steve, you are there. How are you, mate?
Hey, Rusty. How are you, mate?
There he is. Yeah.
Very well. Very well.
Good, mate, and in sunny, you're now our second guest in a row from sunny Canberra.
Yeah, mate. Not sure about the sunny, although it's sunny during the day. But I'm coming to you live from the garage, and I'm pretty sure every step I take down from the house down to here, it drops like 1 degree. I whipped the cash out before. I'm looking at like 10 to 11 degrees. So got the hoodie on and trying to stay warm.
Keeping warm. G'day, Rob, as well. Whoever else is chatting away. Thanks for joining us tonight, Steve. We'll delve into all sorts of equipment stuff with you shortly. We've got a stack of stuff on the shelf to talk about a little bit later as well. And anything else we need to cover, Andy? Anything that we no? I mean, it's our first day. Basically, it's our first day. We're new to this.
Yeah, I can't really. As long as we've hit record and, you know.
Oh, yeah, we've got to do that. Is this actually live? You better make sure we get all that covered. We've done that a few times on the podcast where we've got 10 minutes into it and then gone, oh, yeah, press record.
I may have heard that once or twice just quietly and had a bit of a chuckle as I was like,
Yeah, it happens. But anyway, here we are. We're live. We're chatting away. And thanks to everyone who is joining us and watching in. And, if you get a chance, please share, screenshot, share, do all that sort of thing. It's 14 degrees in Brisbane. It seems pretty cold in Melbourne, actually. I noticed that it's so cold they're even wearing like coverings on their face to keep warm. Good. Must be
running
freezing.
the beard for that at the moment, you know.
Yeah, I think we've all got that going on.
That's my theory. That's what excellent. I'm doing. Yeah.
G'day, Phil from Broken Hill. Hope you're doing well. Craig's here as well. Pete Marshman's here. It's all happening. All right, Steve. Well, let's get into it. We know why we're here. We're talking gear and equipment and anything to do with shooting or shooting related or shooting adjacent, or who knows what we'll cover. But Steve, let me ask you this one: what was the first gun you shot?
Right, mate. It's a bit of a story. So family out in the Hay Plains, and I was about 11. I think I was 10. Anyway, old man takes down and he's like, "Oh, we'll go shoot some bunnies," do all that. Anyway, brother gets into it, does all that, and anyway, cold as. So I was, I'm the dude on the spotlight. And anyway, at the end of the night, they're like, "Oh yeah, everyone else is bored." Like, "Oh, we'll give him a shot, right?" Anyway, so I got this thing thrust into my hands.
Hello.
CZ Model 2.
Yep.
22 rifle. And mate, I remember I still picture this very first bunny I was lining up, like very first shot. No one's ever told me anything. Completely the wrong way to introduce someone to firearms. And I'm working out how to run the bolt, and the bullets are dropping everywhere. I'm dropping the mag, and I'm cold. I'm freezing. I'm like, what's this thing going off? And long story short, mate, that bunny came probably maybe 20 meters to 10 to 5. It was like right next to the side of the ute. And I'm like, Dad's like, come on, you can poke him. Dick, down a hole.
Got it.
So that was my first introduction to shooting, mate. But
right. And
so
you've still got the first gun that you ever shot?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So obviously it's my father's rifle. I hit him up. Well, the next day after that incident, let's call it that, he took me out and he actually showed me how to, load a magazine, work the bolt, actually build a solid position. We just like shot a ram's head like in the paddock. It was one of the coolest memories actually I've got of my time old man. So that's where it started. And since then, that next night out shooting bunnies, quite a different result. And basically, long story short, mate, I've been hooked ever since. So that's where it all began. But yeah, that is the very first rifle I ever shot. Very near and dear to my heart.
Nice. What year is that rifle from?
Ooh, I'm going to say 64 off the top of my head.
Because it'll tell you on the CZs.
No, correction, 82.
82.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good year that one apparently.
I disagree. The year after was much better. Much better.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
that's the way. Fantastic, mate. So that was and obviously that was your first gun. And you, when did you take possession of that yourself?
It was probably 2 years ago. So Dad, I went home and I was like, "Hey, Dad, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, nothing." So I thought, I'm just going to buy it off you. And I thought, I'll have it and I'll look after it. And instead of it sitting there doing nothing, I figured that any time the old boy's ever going to go out shooting again, I'm probably going to take him. So I was like, well, I'll have it, and it's kind of filled a bit of a place as a training rifle here and there. But and obviously out on the farm as well, mate, it gets put to good use. So
yeah, fantastic, mate.
Good little rifle.
Excellent.
Shoots better than me. Always has. It probably always will.
Brilliant. And then so you started doing that sort of stuff. Is that where things continued, or where did you go from there?
So I suppose from there, I got a slug gun for my 11th birthday. Mm-hmm. Probably put like a gazillion pellets through that thing, if that's a metric term for.
Yeah, definitely.
How many rounds went through it?
Yeah.
Just every day, getting home from school, playing around with it was a lot of fun. So from there, and then, mate, really my next step in for firearms was joining the Army. So I did a bit of time in the Army Reserve and just, going through uni and all that sort of stuff, like, dirt poor and obviously traveling around and doing that and starting jobs. The military was my focus for shooting for quite a while. I suppose that probably takes me up until about really 5 years ago, where I sort of still in the military doing all that, but then, I got settled down, married and all that sort of stuff, and, actually had some money to, think about getting my own things. And
so just to wind you back for a second, in the military time, what was your era there, and what firearms were you sort of most?
Yeah, right. So my Army Reserve, as infantry, and I was a digger for. I avoided getting promoted for quite a while because I just like being on the tools and hanging out with the boys as much as I could. So all things infantry weapons, from the 9mm, predominantly Styres, and obviously the machine guns, minimised Mag 58s, all that sort of stuff. And a few other cool toys at various bits and pieces during the time, and, all the rocket launch, that sort of stuff. So I was lucky enough to get some time on those. And yeah, good times, mate. I really enjoyed it.
Nice. And then obviously you either you came out or you had an interest in it external to work, I guess, during that time. Yeah.
So I really took I suppose in the military, I really got it. The whole, applying the marksmanship principles. I really tried to, I suppose, really live and breathe that. And I spent a lot of time actually as a small arms coach in our unit. And sort of having an interest at external and being able to bring some of that knowledge, which the Army probably doesn't really focus on, and it doesn't need to focus on, but, when you can talk to guys about that, the military side of things, and also when they're interested, dabble into other stuff, you got some really good buy-in, and I think that really rang out to a lot of guys. And, so really focused on that and, trying to shoot tiny groups with a Steyr and stretch the ranges out, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah, fantastic, man. Fantastic. And so what was the next sort of step in your non-military firearms interest? Oh, he'll be back in a moment.
Unfortunately, I don't have it. So
okay. Right. Way to tease us, but not follow through.
The next one was quite an interesting one. So I picked up an Omark 44 of all things.
Okay.
And then decided I would take it into the precision service rifle style of competition. So that's a rifle which had obviously single shot, no bipod, no swivel for a bipod. Had like 2.5 kilos of lead in the front of it. You know, it was just like super front heavy.
Yep.
Terrible trigger.
I've been referred to the same way, but anyway.
Yeah. And then I had a Nightforce BR 8-32. Okay, so mill-based reticle.
Yep.
MOA-based turrets.
Perfect.
1 and 8 clicks.
Yep.
Second focal plane. Everything completely what you would not recommend to someone starting out today. But that's what I had.
Yeah, that's it.
And so I just turned up, you know, and at that point I had no idea about really reloading. I was just getting started in that. And, you know, when I bought the rifles from a family member, he gave us, you know, this is the recipe, run that, and, you know, gave me a bit of paper and said, that's your dope. And I was like, cool. And I just lived off that, you know, and I think now about what I know, it's like, how did I hit anything? But, you know, 308, you know, that standard recipe and 155 HPC, like it just shot really well. And I suppose I was lucky enough to team up with guys who had other gear, which I was able to beg, borrow, and steal. And obviously you shoot as a pair in the PSR. So the fact I didn't have a tripod or a spotting scope or whatever, it didn't really matter. And then, you know, if I shooting with a bunch of guys next to me, like they both had 2 tripods in a team, they were like, hey, you know,
gotcha.
Tripod, you know.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, mate, and actually that was a really cool rifle. You know, I kind of miss it in a lot of ways. And, you know, had some success with it, which was actually even more surprising, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, nice, mate. And certainly it goes along the lines of what we often talk about of just using what you've got. I love that you did that and started that. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on that, of not really having ideal gear? It was fine, you know, you're still able to hit targets and it would do what you needed it to, but obviously perhaps not as quick and not as ideal.
Yeah.
And the contrast from that to then spending some time in that shooting it, so that when you did make your change over, your purpose or your next purchase, the lessons you brought along from it.
Yeah, so I think the first thing I realised was that a bipod would be really useful in a match which has prone-supported serials, right? So I took it into the gunsmith. I said, hey, I need to be able to put a bipod on this thing. So we ended up installing a Anschutz rail and getting an adapter for that to put a Harris swivel on it. So then on went the Harris, you know. That was step one, you know, no bipod, have a bipod. And then I think the next thing I did was I was like, right, I need to be able to run ammo. Like, even though it's single shot, I need to be able to access my ammo quickly so that I can actually compensate for not having a magazine. Like the first match, I was reaching into a box and I was fumbling everywhere, and you drop it, it was a disaster. So I got a stock pack. And then I got used to running that. So as I pulled the bolt back, I would just slide my finger straight back that on the stock pack until I found it around, picked it up, dropped it in, closed the bolt, and, you know, boom, and just ran that cycle nice and smooth. And to be honest, mate, in most of those serials, there's more than enough time to actually do that. It was really only when you got the really like rapids, you know, like it wasn't just 5 rounds in 25 seconds. It was like 10 rounds in 30 or something stupid like that. You know, I think there was only ever once where I didn't manage to get all the rounds out, but, you know, I was definitely rushing. And the other thing was Hawkins. So PSR, obviously Hawkins features pretty heavily. And, you know, Hawkins, for those that don't know, like you're basically resting the rifle on your fist. And when I was working the bolt, what was happening was the rifle was just tipping on its side. So I was like, well, that's bad. How do I fix that? And then I look around and some of the dudes are running these little hand stops. So essentially made up a hand stop to go on that Anschutz rail. So now I had a bipod and a hand stop, so I would hang on to it. And that was basically the mods that rifle got. I couldn't run a sling either. I just had to that was one of the biggest things. I was like, well, it's got smashed. As soon as it went to prone unsupported, particularly at like the end of the match, I'm you know, fatigued as you're trying to hang on to this thing. I'm like, yeah, we're not ready. Yeah, that's me. And, you know, I was waving everywhere and terrible scores with that. But it served me. It served its purpose of what it was. It got me going, and it got me into the sport. You know, and that was a rifle that cost me, I think, $250.
Far out.
As much as you can say negative things about it, like it did the job, and it actually shot really well, to be honest.
Yep.
When you actually put the time into it, did a bit of load development, ragged one hole, bug hole groups was actually fairly easy to do. So
brilliant,
mate. Yeah, good.
Brilliant. Did the job for what you needed to. And was there any other sort of firearms that were in this mix at all? Maybe not particularly rifles. Did you delve into shotguns or pistols or anything? Or was it really just been the rifle side of stuff?
Yeah, always sort of growing up out in the Riverina, ducks were a problem. Okay. So spent a lot of time out in the rice fields, basically getting chewed by mozzies for hours at a time. And, making a bit of noise and not really successfully shooting many ducks, but, lots of fun. And I was fortunate enough, actually, to know quite a few very, very, very good shotgun shooters. And to be honest, mate, I just used to watch, sit there and, every now and again one would fly past and, you'd scare it sort of thing, and then they'd knock it off as it went down the bay sort of thing. So I did a bit of shotgun, shot clays for a little bit. But really now it's sort of also just we throw a few clays on the farm every now and again, and it's actually really good fun. No reloading, don't have to set up targets, just rock up, throw some clays in the back of the bike. We end up playing games trying to throw the clays in ways which are really hard to hit, and it's good. Love it.
Nice, mate.
Pistols, you asked about that. So haven't. So I've recently actually finished my training course for that. So if anyone's got any recommendations for first pistols, I'm in the market, as it were. So,
gotcha.
Basically 12 months ago, I went up to the Military Firearms Club here in Canberra and was like, sounds pretty cool. Listen to this pop, 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 in the ting, 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 ting. I was like, sounds like my type of thing. So I went around there and set up the guys, and mate, they were fantastic and really welcomed me into that. And
yeah, awesome.
So basically every Thursday night is range night, and I sort of alternate between pistols and rifles as well. It's pretty lucky. It's a 24-hour range, and all pre-corona, as it were.
Oh yeah, that thing. Yeah,
mate. Let's not talk about that. But yes, into pistols as well, mate. So I'm
delving into
I'm all things that go bang. Really, focus is definitely the rifles.
Yep.
But I certainly do enjoy getting in amongst the pistol shooting as well. And you see some of the guys are really good at that. Like, it just blows my mind, like, how good they are. Phenomenal,
Absolutely. So back onto the rifles then, if we haven't delved down the pistol path too much. What were you where did you go from the OMARC? Have you replaced it?
Yeah, you probably see that. Anyone's watched the socials with me, you've probably got a fair idea where this is going.
Yeah.
I suppose what drove that was I was coming up to my 30th birthday, and I was like, I'm going to treat myself. I want to buy myself a rifle, which I'm going to keep for life, ideally for life. And someone could pass down to my kids, one day. And I really put a lot of time, and having shot factory rifles and all that sort of stuff like that. I knew that wasn't going to be quite right for me at the time. So long story short, shooting a match, teeming rain, it's absolute. It's like pretty much a flood. Everyone was, a lot of dudes there were shooting AIs. And I was like, okay, well, I was watching that. And to be honest, mate, the OMARC didn't lock up either, but there were some rifles had a few troubles on the day. And I was considering one of those. And then so looking at that and what happened there, and then, the end result of that, and then looking at the AIs and I was like, righto, I think that's the path I'm going to go.
Yep.
And that was a significant investment, obviously. They're not a cheap rifle, but to be honest, mate, I've not regretted that for a second. So let's bring it in.
Bring it in, yep. Roll in. Do I have to entertain the crowd while we do that, or? I don't know. I can't. I've got limited skills. Hurry up, man! Hurry up! I'm losing them.
Oh well, this is the Action International AT.
Yep.
Obviously, switch barrel rifle. And do you want to go details?
Get into it, mate. That's apparently that's the name of the show. So let's do it.
Sure. Let's gear night it. So, mate, this is a heathen muzzle brake. No other real reason for when I went round chatting to a guy. He's like, "Hey, I got this one and it fits," and I was like, "That works." Do have the AI brake as well. Yep. And I'd sort of dabbled around, like the AI brake sort of felt too heavy for me. And, what a terrible reason to want to change brakes, but that's what it is. You can see on the bottom, actually, probably talk about the bipod. So my sort of just went from not having a bipod to I want a bipod, and that stayed on. It was fixed. And when shooting pro and supported, I couldn't really take it off. So with the AI, my first iteration, the bipod actually sat basically in here, and it was fixed. And as far forward as I could run the hand stoppers, basically was that.
Yeah,
so
okay.
the bipod effectively sat there, and it was constantly fixed. So the next step was, well, I want to make it so I can get the bipod on and off for different serials. So obviously there is AI specific parts, but for me personally, I found them to have a fair bit of slop in them.
Yep.
So lucky enough to know a guy who's pretty handy on the tools.
Yep.
And effectively we made this jobby up, which sort of is an adapter for a Harris.
Looks solid.
And attaches through that.
Yeah.
And it is just, even without doing it up, you guys probably won't see this, but there is just absolutely no wobble whatsoever.
Yep.
And then the little, I'm not sure what you call it, for the spigot, slocks in. That's solid as, mate. And honestly, that it's really helped me. I think that's actually helped with this rifle as well. Getting that sort of longer footprint, getting it out, and I don't know how else to describe it. It just kind of all helped, and getting it a little bit lower as well, so it kind of fit into the position a little better.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, because obviously it's going to sit a little bit higher up as opposed to being on the bottom of the forend.
Yeah. So nice. This thing, hand stops, really, really rate them. Obviously barricade stops, and I'll probably put it on the PRS more so than the PSR, but for Hawkins, mate, I think this is actually an essential bit of kit.
Yep.
And obviously being able to move that around to match the position you're shooting is actually really cool. So that's that.
Yeah, fantastic.
2-round holder on the side, the game savers, what do you want to call them? Really rate those. Pretty much all my rifles have got those on them now.
Oh yeah, little shout out about those. They're back in stock at Scoped Out. The medium size arrived yesterday, so them Scoped Out Projectile Warehouse. They're back, still waiting on magnums and little ones. But anyway, just while you bring it up, Steve, just mention that.
Perfect. Good to know, mate. I might actually take you up on that, because I've got some other ideas.
We've been waiting on them for a little while, so anyway, all good.
Everyone's going, what's this stupid thing hanging off the side? For me, it's a little data card. I know there's other better solutions for that, but this was literally, I was sitting in the house and I was like, I need something to put the dope on the rifle so that if my Kestrel fails or the phone goes flat or something just fails, and I've got something as a backup. And typically, I run different bullets, multiple bullets in the one barrel. So for this here, say it's got a 308 barrel on, I might have a 155 and then 110 VMAX, and depending on what I'm doing, I just flip the card over. And I adjust the ranges accordingly. And that's sort of how I run that. So you'll see that on most of my rifles as well, particularly hunting rifles. So if you do see something, you haven't got the time to range it and get Kestrel out and do all that, you at least go range, boom. You've got something there.
And you're on it.
Works for me. Night Force ATAC 7-35 on top, without doubt. My favourite bit of kit, 100%. Just cannot say enough things about this, and Jay was obviously harping on about that last week as well.
Yep.
And actually, first bubble level, really like that as well. That's,
Yeah, fantastic, mate. It's good. That's good setup. So is that your current sort of main comp gun, or has been for a period of time?
Yeah, it's been I suppose that's the comp gun since 2016.
Okay.
There's other things in the works coming up. We might talk to those later, but now mate, this is the rifle of choice. Brilliant, exceptional system. I absolutely, it's hard to fault an AI, really.
Mm-hmm.
But I suppose barrels wise, I should worry about that up. We can probably talk about some of the neat, like me-induced problems with that current setup.
Sure. What did you stuff up?
Say again?
What did you stuff up?
Oh, yeah, great. So that is a 6 Creedmoor barrel on that particular rifle right now. We'll come back to that. But
right.
So buy the rifle, all that sort of stuff, and comes to the 308 barrel. And for me, I wanted to shoot against the best guys in the comp, which means they're shooting in the open division. So for me, it was like, right, I want to roll into that. Just so, like, I don't really care if I win or I lose, but I want to see where I'm at compared to the top guys.
Yep.
So that's not to say there's some phenomenal shooters in NATO as well, don't get me wrong. So the 308 barrel came off, and I was like, right, what do I get?
Yep.
And I was offered a barrel of something else. There was a 6.5 barrel in a 1-8 twist, but it was chambered for another rifle, so it would need to be effectively re-reamed. Got it at the right price. I was like, okay, no worries. Chasing that chamber, we ran into a few sort of, let's say, technical problems. And Gunsmith, I go through Russ from Group Solutions Gunsmith, and he basically rang me up and said, Steve, it hasn't gone well, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, got two options. One, he goes, I can buy, I owe you a barrel, or we can try a 260 Ackley improved reamer to try and cut the chamber a little bit. So it basically was chattering.
Okay.
I said, mate, we spoke about whether 260 Ackley would work and what the pros and cons were. And I did a bit of research, and I couldn't find anything. And long story short, I said, you know what, mate, let's do it. The worst thing is we're going to learn something.
Yep.
And we did. So I'm going to come here at the moment. So I've kind of been in the closet. A few people know this, right?
Right. Dropping bombs tonight.
Yeah. So pretty cool looking case. So obviously blows the shoulder forward and gives it a 40-degree shoulder.
Yep.
So look, I'll just jump straight to it. Trying to run it out of a double stack mag. They do go in, and I've got 7 empty cases in here, but when you can even show you, they just, because of there's not enough taper on the case and it's too straight, they bind up, and then you can push them in, but they sort of don't come out. And if I pop that one out, you'll see that next one will dive, and then obviously the bolt just flies over it.
Yep.
Long and short, 260 Ackley improved does not feed from a double stack magazine.
Okay. Yep.
No worries. Let's go a single stack magazine. So the solution, or the fix was really going to a single stack, and that's fixed it. But now we've got a system where we've got a single stack magazine feeding into an action which is designed to be double stack, double feed.
Of course. Yeah.
This rim, as it pops out, goes straight over that ridge in the middle and scratches the bullet every single time.
Right.
And my ego was such that I couldn't bring myself to put a 10-shot mag, like a standard, what do you call them, AW, not an AW, what's an AICS mag.
Yep.
So it sat out the bottom of the AT chassis. So I've only been running 5-shot mags for like 5 years.
Yeah, right.
Look, it's not ideal, right? But the saving grace for this particular rifle is that it shoots amazingly well. Load development consisted of choosing the 147 grain ELDM and buying 2,000 of those from a gentleman from Projectile Warehouse, I do believe.
Righto.
Good guy. It's funny, when the postie turned up, he's like, he went to grab this box and just flip it out to me. Pretty small. Yeah, man, what do you got in here? He's like, full of lead. And I was like,
yeah,
kind of. I mean, copper as well, but, whatever.
Really into my fishing sinkers, yeah.
Yeah, right, wheel weights. So, mate, doing the load development, it was just, doing the OCW, working up load, going up to the high. I just got some stupidly crazy numbers, SD of like 4, like an extreme spread of 8. Like, it was ridiculous. So load development was done like 25 rounds, and since then that's been the go-to, and it's shot amazingly well. So I haven't actually had to fiddle with it. Sort of 1,600 rounds down on this barrel, and I haven't actually even trimmed these cases. They just don't grow the way I'm sort of loading them as well. So it's been pretty friendly in that regards, but if you're going to run 260 Ackley, really rate it. It is, ballistically pretty cool.
Yep.
But probably don't run it from a double stack. magazine design and an action double sign for a double stack as well. So if you got a single stack mag system, like a double stack to single feed, and a single stack, single feed chamber, it's probably pretty cool.
Yeah, nice. Nice. Yeah, I've certainly know some guys who've had some experience with it, and it's performed very well. What sort of velocities you're pumping? Are you pretty high on the velocity?
So I think spinning out of the Kestrel is saying 28, 37.8, something like that.
Oh, okay.
So it's not stupid.
Yeah, nothing too crazy.
Yeah, it's hooking along for a 147. Like it's I think it's hooking along pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had any pressure problems. The only sign of pressure I've had was I was doing Jay's course back into 2019, and stupidly hot day, like stupid hot. Everything was just baking. And ejected a case, and a primer did fall out the back, and I was like, ooh, might just put that in the shade.
Good move,
but we probably found the limit there, so I backed it off a bit, and it's been pretty cool.
Sweet. All right, well, we're going to take a little break from talking about all that gear, or your gear at least, and we're going to cover off on what is on the shelf, because we've got all sorts of bits and pieces here. So I'm going to start off with this one here. This came from Ironside. I guess they predicted what was happening with Melbourne. Steve, you an Ironside drinker?
Mate, I absolutely am. Recently converted. Love it. Really good product. And actually, I was going to put another post up. Ordered one day, delivered the next, like to my door. Pumping out a sensational brew. It's really good.
That helps when you live in Canberra. I was going to say, I don't think I can try this on, but I'm going to throw it over to Andy. Andy, give that a go. See if you can mask up. While we're doing that, this got sent in by a viewer, listener, whatever it is. So thanks very much to the person who that's Big Shed Brewing. That's an awesome hat. I'm a big fan of that. What else have we got? Special one from Scoped Out. These cheek risers, because it is really important. Oh, yep, Andy's had an improvement over there. Good stuff, mate. Ironside will be screenshotting that. Someone screenshot that, put it on a story and tag him in. Tag in Ironside. Anyway, fantastic. Good stuff. These are really good. Steve's got one over there. Sorry, mate. Andy had his face covered. He couldn't switch over to you. But it's really important to be able to get that right, that correct height on your cheek, so that you can be looking directly down your scope. So they're a really good way of doing it. And they're really customizable, and you can replace your... how much foam is in there with one of the other ones and bring it up a little bit higher. Anyway, flick over to Steve, and there's one on a real gun, actually doing the thing.
It's almost like we prepared that earlier, but we absolutely didn't.
Yeah, we didn't. we have looked like we did that. If we didn't say anything, it would have been well staged.
Everyone would have assumed we teed that up, but I'm a huge fan. Actually, they work really well.
Yeah, they do. So they're a really good option. What else? You ever used something like this at all, Steve? Andy? No?
I was going to say scope leveling mounts.
Yeah, loving the hair, by the way, Andy. That's looking fantastic, mate. That's sensational, dude. Anyway, so being able to use this to get your scope level with the bubble level, really effective, really useful. Used it last night for a guy, and excellent sort of little piece of kit. I think Badger make them commercially. You can get them at Huntsman Firearms. But I got a couple of them from back when we were running training. They were good. And one more thing I've got on here from the Bearded Chap. Got sent down a couple of these little stubby holders. If you're familiar with the Bearded Chap, it does a beard oil with sensation. Andy bought. So actually, Andy, you bought some the other week, so you can have the second one.
Sick! Winning.
I've got one, so these are good. Steve, I'll chuck you the other one, mate. Here. Oh, now that's what we should have organised.
Hey.
That's the one we should have organised. Well. Yeah, should we try that again?
You spoke about that last week.
All right, here we go. You got to switch this right, Andy. Ready? All right, you ready? Oh yeah. Anyway, Bearded Chap, wonderful, brilliant. Check it out.
Oh, jeez. What a catch!
Wow,
mate.
We must be slightly delayed there, Steve, because that was terrible. Anyway, that's all right. That's right. We're learning what we're doing. Right, back. I think that's everything there. So check out the Bistoli cheek pieces scoped out if you need to get your head up a little bit on your gun, so you're looking through your scope really, really comfortably, and all the other stuff that we've had in, especially to Ironside coffee. Good stuff. Now, where were we talking? You have been doing all sorts of research on actions and on barrels and bits and pieces for projects. I wanted you to share a bunch of that, the things you found out, the decisions you've made, the actions that you've sort of decided to do some stuff with. Kick us off wherever you like, mate.
Hey, righto. I suppose actions. Let's pick that.
Let's do that.
So for me, I'm trying to build good systems, if that makes sense, and then everything as a system needs to work together. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
The hard and soft rifles obviously is an action. And the way I sort of approached it was I thought about, there's a ton of really good actions out there, and how do you narrow it down to the one which is right for you? Like everyone tells you they have the best action. Like no one tells you they got the world's second best action. So it's up to you to choose which sort of options and features are actually are right for you. So I literally wrote a bunch of requirements down for what I wanted.
Yep.
Whether that's a 60-degree bolt, a 90-degree bolt for different reasons. Does it have a double? Is it double stack? Like, will it take an AW magazine? That for me, like, best mags in the business. I want to stick with that. Does it come, DLC coated, or is it polished, or is it not, or is it raw? Depending on what you want. Like if you're going to go and take it Cerakoted, like paying for an action which is already coated is obviously not ideal. If you got to remove it, then go and do something else to it. So picking and choosing what you want to refine down to where you go, that's the one for me.
Yep.
And I suppose the other key thing I've been looking at is I want to remove as many sources of failure, so as many interfaces as I can. So integrated rail for me makes sense, right? Because you're not bolting something onto it. It's been machined on that, CNC machine, 5-axle rate, whatever. That thing is straight, and it can't come off. Like it just physically can't come off, and it'd actually be really hard to actually break it or bend it. And similarly with recoil lugs as well. Like, for me, I want an integrated recoil lug. And so when you write all those options down, and I effectively assigned points to it, whether something was essential, whether it was desirable, and blah, blah, blah. And then compared all different actions that across the top or across the right, and then added the points up at the bottom, and then effectively divided points by price to go, that's a way to narrow down on value in a way. But also if you go if something is essential, that it has to have that, I want to, get rid of it. Or potentially, it's not quite, there might be something which is slightly better. And I think, like I was saying, like there's so many good actions out there. Like you're spoiled for choice. You really are.
Yeah.
And it's about going which one's right for what I want to do for me. That's it. So that's kind of how I approached it. So mate, I've landed on a couple for two different builds. One is the Impact 737R.
Yep.
For short action. Yep. And actually shout out to Danny. They actually turned up just quite recently. So they are here.
Very good, actually. While you bring Danny up, Danny is our guest for next week's Gear Night. Cool. Danny from Delta Tactical. So, definitely look forward to having. So whatever you're bringing up now, we'll harass him about. But anyway, they turned up.
He'd be a guy to talk to about gear, I reckon. Like, he probably knows more than most, given what he does. So
absolutely.
So the 737R is something I want to go with, and obviously, I think yourself, you've actually got a couple, I believe.
Got just one.
As many
just
others
the one.
do.
Yeah.
Just the one. All right.
Yep.
Like I haven't seen any negative things about those at all, really. So really looking forward to getting that. Can't wait to get my hands on that one. Really pumped for that.
Yep.
So, and the specifically AW cut is what I'm going on there as well. So,
sure. Yep.
Mate, obviously the other one I've landed on is a Defiance. Deviant Tactical in a long action with a Magnum bolt face to run this bad girl, 300 Norma. So fortunate enough to know a couple of guys that have played around with the Norma and seen it in action, as it were, and mate, I blown away. Like bang for buck, and I suppose the ballistic capability you can get with that particular cartridge, whilst getting it in a rifle, which is not stupidly massive, I think it's pretty cool. So really, mate, I am absolutely cannot wait to get my hands on that one and get it running. And
yeah, brilliant.
Like you're launching the big heavy 30 cal bullets. So obviously got I think that box there. 240 grain burgers, picked up some of those. Really keen to see how they go. You run the numbers on there like that, just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And similarly with the 250 tips as well. So probably be, again, calling us someone we know, Projectile Warehouse, and going, hey, mate, hook me up.
Yeah, those A-tips are very nice, mate. Well, just to wind it back a moment. So why... We talked with Jay last week about custom guns and doing that, but why would you go from a ticker that's going to shoot extremely well to something that is a custom action to build from? Because clearly it's far more expensive, and several people have said that doesn't necessarily make you shoot better. But what was your reasoning for looking at those?
Yeah, look, it's probably guys can answer this better than me as well. But I think for me, a lot of it is time. Like you're buying and materials, like and that level of precision that you're getting when you buy one of those custom actions. Like you can't get that from a factory off, and you go, oh, okay, cool, so it looks pretty or whatever. But I think for me, it starts right back. Like the purpose of your action is to align your cartridge as straight as it can to allow your projectile to leave as concentric as possible down the center of your bore. And talking about materials, something I've learned from a few people in asking these questions and doing research and various gunsmiths and very knowledgeable people is, like things like your trigger springs, like how consistently your primer strike is. Like that, firing pin dropping and starting your chain of ignition to ultimately launch your projectile. How consistently that is hitting your primer, and then transferring that into how getting the ignition of your powder column to get a consistent burn. Ultimately, like you see a lot of these custom guns, all through Instagram and stuff, like they're getting really low ES and SDs. And I think if you trace it all the way back through that chain, it starts at you got super tight tolerances where you need it, but also functional enough to run it in all environments as well. I think that's a delicate balance to get right, and then obviously your reliability and repeatability and that sort of stuff. And then honestly, it's the nice to haves.
Sure.
And if you're getting into this sport and you love it and you're going to be into it for years and years and years, like why not? Go the best you can get. So I think that for me is kind of where I'm going as well. But really it's those options you can select. That's really what it is. And when you do actually get the chance to get behind one and use one, you just get up with a smile on your face, that itself's worth it,
I think you're right. It's really those small percentage little gains, and they're expensive gains. And it's not necessarily about it's going to put a tighter group, but it'll probably do that more often than not. I think too. I think when you get on the extremes as well, like that's probably where you get more of that. Like the consistency of your material. Or, particularly if you got different alloys on bolted to your action and they're expanding at different rates. You're taking that variable out as well. So like you're saying, on the edges is probably where you notice it more than 22 degrees on a beautiful calm, no wind day. Potentially. So Fantastic, mate. So, guys, if you're watching, I'm gonna hit this when I'm allowed to, Andy. Just hit this in here. I'm just gonna put Practical Rifle Solutions tag in because Steve put a photo up. So head over to his Facebook page or Instagram page, and he put a photo up with a whole swag of gear in it. And I'm mindful that we are not going to be able to cover even tenth of the equipment that's in that photo.
I've got it all out here to get to it.
So what I'm saying is, guys, to head over to this page, of course, like his page, because that's what you do in this day and age. But check out that photo. If there's anything in that photo you're like, I've been thinking about that, or I've been looking at that, or eyeing that off, bring it up now, because we obviously we've got 10, 15 minutes or so left, and if there's something in there you're like, I should have asked that question, now is a really good time. So go, no, I didn't mean you, Andy. He's going to go check it out. Or you might get a question from Andy, see what it's what it is. So anyway, so do that and hit us up in the chat if there's anything there that you want Steve to delve into. You recently grabbed the Eyepiece for the Viper spotting scope, which I haven't even been able to play with yet because they only just came in. How is that? How is the Eyepiece? Because the Viper's a pretty good spotting scope, been around for quite a long time, but now there's the swap out Eyepiece on it, which only previously was on the Razor.
Yeah, mate. I said it's new to me as of last week, but I had it out and I was actually looking at there's a quarry just outside from my house. You can see it's probably 2.5, 3 k's away. Mm-hmm. And Viper is not the top of the line, but mate, I found this to be very good. Yeah. It's as simple as that. And you look online, some of the reviews of this particular spotting scope, like to go from this to the Razor, like is. Like you had to, again, be right on the extremes for it to really matter. Let's say that. And then
totally.
And I suppose like the money for me is probably better spent somewhere else in, like a rifle scope, because you're paying there for the repeatability of things, like how precise things are, not just how good it looks. So for me, like saving that extra money was about going to a scope rather than actually going to the spotter as well. So.
Yeah, fantastic, man.
Mate, super cool. Very, very happy. The eyepiece, I suppose quickly, what I like about it, you can actually adjust the focus of the reticle independent of the focus of your image, and then also level the reticle as well. So as I spin that, the reticle is actually doing this. So if you are, want to run, F-class, whatever, and you're running the, I suppose, it's not just vertically, like horizontally, you can actually... spin that reticle around to actually align it with what you're trying to spot for.
Yeah, fantastic.
I'm really looking forward to this. Obviously, done a bit of long range stuff, and one of the limiting factors that we've had is being able to actually see misses effectively. Really cool. Looking forward to getting onto this and using that. And I think that really simple reticle has also been quite cool. Doesn't, for a spotting scope where you want to see as much as what's going on with the projectile in flight and after, on impact, I really rate it. So,
yeah, fantastic.
Very happy. Thank you.
Nice. Now, Wayne just pointed out the Practical Rifle Solutions website link is down on the Facebook page, but I don't reckon your website is live yet, is it? No. So Wayne is purely gun teasing you. He's going to, you're like, I'll click on this and I'm just going to get very excited about what I'm about to see. And then you get there and you're like, not quite yet. So just wait.
Just bear with me. It's a side project, right? Like I've got a full-time job and kids and everything. This weekend, I'm actually sitting with a guy who's helping me design the website. Yeah. And I dabbled in it sort of 2 to 3 months ago. And honestly, mate, that is not where I should be playing in. So, and I'm obviously very new to the socials as well. So bear with me as I get up to speed on that. And one of the things, I actually went to remove that link last week, and I was, something happened, kids woke up, whatever, and I couldn't get rid of it. So bear with me. That site is, effectively it's going to be a lot of the stuff that I've learned over the last sort of 20 years coming into putting it in one spot, and I'm going to try and link in different things as well. So I follow a plethora of social media, and I want to try and help guys in the sport and answer some of those common questions. And I know there's other sites that do that, but stuff is for me, and I suppose me putting my spin on things, and then obviously products that come out at the end of that as well. So
yeah, brilliant.
Bear with me, it's coming.
Excellent. Andy, you've looked at the image. Is there anything in there that you wanted to ask Steve about?
Ooh.
And Steve, the next question coming to you, mate, is a couple of favourite pieces of kit that you've got that you want to delve into. Maybe we even hit that up while Andy is thinking, because he's having a think. Right. So
Mate,
what have you got that's been best value for money, the best place to spend some coin on?
Mate,
here's the plug.
Without doubt, like shameless plug for Jay. That knowledge, and like Bertie put a post up today about it, and I couldn't agree more. I have made so many mistakes that if I'd have done Jay's course, 4 or 5 years ago, it would have saved me literally thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, I don't regret making those mistakes because it's helped me learn the things and got me to a place where I am now. But like super cool. And obviously I was, not new to the sport when I did Jay's course, and it's a fairly, I pay with that for my own money as well. And I looked at it, I was like, if I go on this course and if I come out of it and I learn 2 things, it'll be worth it. Right? I think by the first 10 minutes, I had a list of about 20-something things I'd already gone and gone, I'm going to dive deeper into that. And Jay, obviously super cool dude. And he's actually helped me out a lot behind the scenes as well to help other things. So I'm very appreciative. But honestly, mate, I think that is one of the best bits of kit.
Fantastic.
Closely followed by.
Okay.
100%. This is where it's at. That knowing how to use this, I think is instrumental. And again, wish I'd have been onto that earlier as well, and probably would have had a far more success in recent times. Absolutely a favourite bit of kit of mine, and it honestly goes everywhere now.
Fantastic.
I just will not leave without it.
Yeah, brilliant. Andy,
hey,
you had a question?
Yeah, really important one. Have you got snakes yet on your Kestrel? That's what I want to know.
He's on the to-do list, right? Saw that from Jay as well. It's like I've sort of been on the edge. I'll tell you what, every time I look at my Kestrel, it's like, if you upload, you might lose your data. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I put so much effort into getting that data right for certain guns. I'm like, nah, not worth it.
Now
as soon as Jay put that up, I was like, you know what? Boom, I am in. 51 Nokia, 5110. I'm like, that's me. That was high school. I cannot wait for that.
So for anyone wondering, Snake, the new Kestrel software update allows you to play Snake on your Kestrel. So, I mean, if that wasn't a reason to buy one, you will never buy one. So that's probably
100%.
Probably time now. Andy was wondering what the blue thing in your backpack was.
Oh, mate, that's a really high-tech bit of gear.
About to get the technical breakdown.
That's it.
Mate, this is terrible. I feel like I'm really letting the team down here. Like, you've asked for gear night, and it's honestly, it's a bit of yoga mat.
Yeah, knew it.
That's why Andy wanted to know, because Andy, have you kept up your yoga since Impact Dynamics Live has been on?
Not a whole lot, to be honest. Been going to the physio a little bit,
okay.
But slacking on the yoga side of things.
Drawn to the yoga mat, I can tell. Yeah, okay, nice, excellent.
Mate, I need to hit up Lobie's gear and get myself a proper shooting mat for me, not my rifle. I need to do that. I've used that. It's basically it's enough to put my elbows on and really rest that part of myself on, and the rest of it, whatever. I'll just lie on the dirt, It doesn't bounce or anything like that.
Yep.
It's time to upgrade that, I think, and go the whole hog.
I think you're right, mate. Time is now. You've got this flash bit of
time is now. Everyone's just turned off and gone, who is this idiot? Get him off. Be done.
I don't know, man.
Get Danny on. Bring on Danny. Bring back Jay.
I think Andy live streamed his yoga. So, man, if Andy can get away with live streaming yoga and still be relevant to the shooting community, you can have half a yoga mat in your backpack without some issue, mate. You'll be fine.
Appreciate it, mate.
You'll probably pick up another two or three.
I may have actually watched him doing yoga more than once, which is probably
To be honest, I don't think it was great quality.
Well, it's only because you're brand new.
That's the main thing. You put it out there, mate, and you did it.
Yeah.
Hey, other favourite bit of gear, Rusty, is a rangefinder.
Yep.
100%. And the reason for that is, being an infantry guy, I was like, I can pace out 100 metres. We really hammer that stuff all the time. And so one of the mistakes I made for way too long was actually, when I was sighting a rifle in, I was like, it's 100 metres. Or at the range, you go and you sit on the bench, whatever, and where the targets are, like, it's 100 metres. Well, it's actually 92.4, or 96.8, or I had 97.1 when I was pacing it out.
Yes.
And you're like, not that big a deal, but it's 3%.
Yep.
And or 5%, if I got it wrong at 95, right? And as you extrapolate that out, like I just carried that error in, and then as I'm trying to work around with, I've had pretty much every ballistic app under the sun.
Yep.
Making every mistake and thing, because I was putting bad data into, I was getting bad data out, if that makes sense. And I upgraded a range of things at the same time. So I got obviously the rangefinder, switched over to the ATAC, upgraded between my ears.
Yep.
And honestly, mate, that now I'm at a point now where I literally cannot blame my rifle for anything that goes wrong. And bullets as well. That's another one I was thinking. Just don't skimp on bullets and don't skimp on brass. I've done that. Done the cheap thing. I'll use factory and reload and all that sort of stuff. And sometimes it works, and that's okay if you've got certain things. But there are times where you just got to, reach for the blue box, or reach for the alpha, or reach for the Peterson, and just do it properly. Like good inputs, is doesn't guarantee good outputs, but it certainly helps.
Yeah, it certainly removes questions from the equation, and really can come back. You want to draw everything back to your personal skill and develop that.
Yeah,
overall.
For me, I want to make me is the weakest part of the system.
Yep.
And I know that's probably true for a lot of guys, but thinking about that, that's, I'm absolutely the weakest part of my system. And then it's on me to be accountable to fix that and to, improve over time. So.
Yeah, fantastic, man.
I had a quick one for you, mate. Do you, what do you do in terms of data books and dope books and things? What sort of records do you keep with them?
He's looking for
not as good as I should.
Yeah, I am quite the same. I have a book with nothing in it.
Do you know where it is?
I do. It's right there. It's right there. It's one of the things I actually pulled off the bench before coming in. It's just a little A5 notebook. And honestly, if the house was burning down, it'd be one of the things I would probably grab first and foremost, because, I don't know, 11, 12 rifles, something like that, and different bullets for each, and all the data that's gone into that, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours doing load development, all contained in that one book.
Yep.
Yeah. I think there's a couple of apps I'm actually tracking down as well. I think there's a guy called Reloading All Day or something like that on Insta. He's actually put out a new app, which is apparently tracking that. So I'm sort of tempted to actually switch over to that, so that, like you asked me a lot of questions, like we could be able to just whip through and shot on your phone, right? And you've always got your phone with you. You can obviously back it up and save it electronically rather than relying on a pen and paper so much. So, but at the same time, like I said, I'm always writing that circular dope on the side of the rifle.
Yep.
And I've also got a notebook in my sort of shooting bag in the top, where as I go to different ranges, I actually write down atmospherics, what sort of stuff, and the hard data I was using for that particular range on that range. That makes sense. So 700 metres at Canberra versus 700 metres at Storwell versus Castlemaine versus, Hornsby, whatever.
Yep.
Trying to keep records of that. Does it improve my shooting? Maybe, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but it's one less variable as well. And, pretty good mates, one of the top shooters in the country, and he's been doing that for a while, and he attributes that to some of his success as well.
I think
the Kestrel is dominating that a little bit, but yeah.
I think even if it doesn't particularly give you significant benefits in terms of the actual data, the attention to detail and paying attention to that sort of information trains really good habits, and that, if nothing else, and I believe it does help anyway, but if nothing else, being focused on those sort of details and being able to put the conscious effort into taking observations and doing all that sort of things just keeps you aware of variations, keeps you aware of situations, and certainly will make you better than, and having a Kestrel to be able to pull that data out is extremely useful.
I think for me, like starting out as well, like way back at the start, it was like, 800 meters, that's my dope for 800 meters, and I ran that across 800 meters everywhere. And that's not the case, as we know, with different environmentals and altitude, density, altitude, all that sort of stuff. And wind as well, like what the impact the wind has on your aerodynamic jump and things like that. So and I think when you write the numbers down and you shoot it across enough range and you see that, well, that data, like, from 900 yards, whatever, was 0.3 different from this range to that range, and all it changed was, your environmentals. It makes you realise that you can't just go, yep, that's right for 500, bang, I'm going to run that, and not have to think about it again. Like, you do have to change it, and if you get your data at I don't know, 4 o'clock in the afternoon the day before, and it's hot, and you come up the next day and it's cold, and your DA's dropped, like, you're going to need different numbers rather than the numbers you had potentially for your sighting day the day before. Like, maybe it's the same and maybe it's not. So understanding that has been, that's why, I say Jay's course, because for me in matches where I've lost more points on one serial than some of the dudes that have won it have dropped on the whole lot because my elevation was off. And then you're chasing yourself and you're like, what, my data's good. Then you don't trust your spotter. Then you put another round on top of the last one. You're like, oh crap, I did miss that. And then, you get in this loop, and before you know it, you've just, you're out of the race before you even start. And that's why I say, for me, that understanding about how to dial your gun in and actually do that ballistic calibration correctly, I think that is super powerful. And, all I'll say is, be careful what's out on the internet. There's a few things out there which, come across quite well, but there is, there's maybe some which is really good and maybe some which is probably not so good. But hashtag shout out to the Long Gun Project.
Which one's that in? Which category? No, Ben's good. Ben's good. All good, right. Mate. All good. All right. One more thing, Steve. I've got Anthony asking, he'd love to see a photo of your info and how to lay out his book and how you lay yours out. Are you not right now, but sometime in the next 24 hours, if he goes and follows you, I'm sure you'll put that photo up, won't you? Yeah.
It's nothing flash. Like, it's pretty scribbly in a book. Like, I can do that. That's no problems at all.
Or what you could
run some of that.
What you could do as you're kicking off your social media is run a little competition where everyone should post up what their data book layout looks like, and then now we're onto something. So head over to practical shooting, I've lost it. Practical rifle. Everything's called practical precision rifle, and I get confused by all of that. I go to tag things on Facebook, and like 15 things come out that are all connected, and you're like, which one is it?
Yeah. I know what you're saying. The solutions part of that is, we'll get into what Practical Solutions is in the future, but Solutions is a throw to group solutions gunsmithing, and a huge shout out to Russell. He has put so much time into me personally, and putting up with me asking him, just a plethora of questions and information. So, you guys want good work done. I really rate what he does, and I've seen him take so much pride in his work, where I've seen him actually physically, work half a day's worth of stuff and screw it on and go, it's not quite right, and literally just cut it off and start again, and not charge that to the customer. And I asked him why, and he's like, well, I can do it better. And I was like,
that's
you're my man.
Yeah.
Really, really appreciate everything Russ has done for that, man.
Awesome.
Pretty cool.
Excellent, mate. Well,
that's the solutions part.
We best wrap it up. So, guys, where can we follow you, Steve? Where can we hit you up?
Mate, Instagram and Facebook, Practical Rifle Solutions. If you hit me up on Facey, Steve Blacker is me personally. The one with the rifle on it is, that'll link you to Practical Rifle Solutions, the page. Like I said, starting out on that there. So bear with me as I learn the ropes of juggling the social media, getting that up and running. So please bear with me.
Awesome. Andy, where can we find you, mate?
I am on a little PRS on Instagram, I think, and a little precision rifle on Facebook. I think that's about right.
Yeah.
I'm still learning too.
Sounds good, mate.
Sounds right.
Good. And we're in support of our Melbourne brothers and sisters. We're donning the face masks because it's law as of today. Steve's got one on as well somehow. And anyway, you can follow me personally on Instagram, impact.rusty, and of course Impact Dynamics and stuff. Guys, what would be awesome is Danny is on next week. Danny from Delta Tactical, who is in Melbourne, so I expect him to be wearing a face mask when he comes on, because that's what you have to do. If you can share this out, if you've enjoyed what we've done, tag your friends in here, because this video will be up on Facebook and going up on YouTube and the podcast shortly. So if Steve's been able to share anything that you found valuable, tag your mates in. That would be fantastic. If you are in Australia, you can chat with us in the Precision Rifle Australia group. There are 3 questions you have to answer to get into that group. You have to answer all 3, otherwise you don't get in. So just answer the questions and we're good to go. Love to have a chat with you in there. All sorts of good questions have been popping up over the last couple of weeks. It's fantastic. So guys, thanks for watching. Steve, thanks for joining us, mate. And stay warm over there in Canberra.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, guys.